You guys are experiencing Longsword fire. How do you guys do like the typical SDA back edge cut?
Yeah, I tried.
That's the typical. Yeah.
Oh, that was.
Yeah. You miss, and then you go.
Just like this.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about like when you go.
I'm getting to that. Right. Yeah, right. And so that's what I'm saying. The nature of that edge use cut is phenomenally good. I mean, that's what's really good, right? Don't ever say to yourself, I can't do that. Right? I mean, especially if you're close and
they pass you.
Like you do, right? If I come in and I pass over, right? And then he lives up, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So the more subtle way to do baggage cutting and the more appropriate way to do baggage cutting, you start by putting our top hand and thumb on the flat of the hilt. Okay? You go to the next step after that, or you use the thumb.
I have not tried to do the phone in my office.
Okay.
Then I'm on the pedal.
Yeah.
I guarantee you can still do it in your office because it works in mine and they're not as fancy.
So I want everybody to take that hand position where you move the thumb. Most of the hand guys go, you put your thumb there and you use the back edge. I totally agree. Put the thumb out. I don't use the thumb position for my back edge cutter. There's an advanced way to use your hands and I have to do that. You may be doing that without putting your thumb there. But the intermediate way to learn how to use the back edge, you start with putting your thumb here, okay? And then the cut, we'll help in a minute, but the cut is literally, this receiver, is literally, right? So see, leading edge, right? Front edge, leading edge, trailing edge, back edge, those are words come out of my head. Okay, so it's just rotating and getting that back edge. Right? Now, if you're watching this, that's not pretty check that on the back edge. But it's the practice. It's the fun. But if I do this, same cut with the passing step, forward lead passing step, now becomes. So if I do that and I'm here, so see what happens? It's really important you guys need to see what happens for proper cutting technique. My hand is through the line or center line to the target, right? Which means the angle of the cut is easier to block, right? Okay? If I do the same cut with a back edge, see the difference in where that angle is in that sword line? Right? So this one, it's on a sword. This one kind of isn't. Right? Because instead of finishing here, I have to finish here. Right? Okay. Alright. We use the back edge in a lot of different ways once we start getting used to how to use the back edge. And this goes away. Right? Except for that one very powerful example I just showed earlier, this or that, right? Close in. So if I'm coming up, back edge to the body, the hip, the body. Okay. Now, did you grab your shield? So come up, back edge. That vertical strike, right? So this to this feels like the same thing, right? Very similar. But if I'm using the back edge, it's a little quicker to the cut, just a little bit, okay? All right. If I'm flat edge and I swing the flat at you, right, and you go to block, I can easily change it with here, as opposed to here, I'm trying to figure out, because this is quicker, sooner. Get that? Yeah.
And to David's point, it often sets up follow-up structure.
Yeah, cool. So sword and shield work, right? Yeah, so this conversation is in my how to fight against like right now sword and shield guy tutorial for Longsword. But so do this, just block it. No, I'll play with the shield. Right, pretty easy block, right? And that's what I'm gonna do. But if I come in and throw those back edge, right? First of all, he's not gonna expect it. And it's now if he goes for the shield block,
I'm getting in my own way. You're behind it anyway.
yeah. See how far he'd have to be? He'll make that block. Okay. I have done some work.
Could you do that a little slower?
I'm sorry. Your hand movement.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be here, right? So that I'm still blocking. Right. So if he's swung, that's fine. Right? I'm either doing that when he's swinging or before he swings, and he goes, oh, I better do something, I'm doing something, like swinging, he's just doing the circle, right? But fundamentally, it's here to there. It's just put your thumb. Sorry.
But it means you have your whole blade turned down.
Yeah. And then come down, around, and then go.
So wrap then.
That's it.
Now do it with all the time.
I'm gonna hit it. So here, and then so you have power with body turns. But at about 3/4 now I don't finish it like this because it's just got to hit the shield.
You can bounce
Yeah,
it.
it's not sure.
You can throw it for a shot.
But while here, this pulls. Yeah, pivot. Right. So it's right. Super hard. And you say, let the snap in. What the body starts generating. Because you do the body, and then when you can do the back rotate. Yeah.
Practice on the belt.
It's just here.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, so here's what
That's kind of the, like, everything's in motion all the time.
the sword here?
Right, one of the openings for this, basically, is lock.
Right here.
So that's right here.
And then as you turn your body,
Then you,
I want you to hit while you're snapping. Yeah, so you're that already. Yeah. And I'm gonna slow.
straight for one. like you're just gonna cut into body heights, and then
Stuff in minutes.
Depends on, there it is.
Yeah.
Really soft fluid hand. It's a reverse snap. The next one,
this is a block because you're moving into making this short strike. Okay.
Yeah.
This is something that especially right now. It's a lot of fun. I don't use the thumb position. Right. I'm just going to be here, and now this hand rotates the sword.
So, and I think that's like a big reason.
So when I'm watching out the saw, when I'm going to do a baggage
Where I was going to get it.
I'm heading on the ground, I come up. So my hands
You can do
rotate.
here. You can just be there. It's only on rotation of the hand, right?
That's the rotation of the curve.
So,
And I'm now hitting with my hand what I would have if I had my thumb on it. But yeah, it's just a rotation. It's double rotation. Sometimes it's a lot.
You can hide it by never hitting the right snap. So you can literally just
Yeah. So, yeah.
far, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what so, you know what I'm saying? I don't do the thing up anymore. Yeah. Yeah. So, what you're doing, I'm just going to describe it, is, so when I do that, if I was using the thumb, I come do that, right? I don't do that. I do okay? So what's happening is I cut. This hand controls the edge twice. And this hand controls the edge. If I want to modify where this hand is. See how that bottom rotation of that hand turns it into a backward?
drive the elbow.
Backwards cut. Rotate. Back in.
Yeah.
So you're getting the all the way back.
Well, it floats.
Yeah. But you're getting the benefit of having this hand be somewhere else. Right? It ends up looking like.
Yes.
Yeah, because my cup change, I can actually let it go.
I gotta be careful because
I can just let go and rotate from my thumb to
Yeah. So sometimes when I'm doing this, I go, leading edge or back edge? Because it kind of looks like leading edge now, right? But it's how we get control. See how I to do that with the hands on the edge, I have to be some weird position. Right? Back edge. Right? So when I do it, these hands are in your position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. You got it? Good.
Yes, so if you don't have. SCA people have what I gotta do is with any meaningful sword that somebody's, sometimes when there's not a handle on it, there's a tang is there. But you make a dagger, you make a sword, you cross section. Yeah. So when you close your eyes and still know where the edges are. Yeah, right.
So you can do this as well. So,
And we're great to
it's the same. He's talking.
I don't know if you do this, sir.
So if you're doing this,
Now you can see
that angle,
I'm gonna stand back.
yeah.
Yeah.
that is the
Right, so what he's
Yeah.
telling me is you can just pick up this one.
It's
my arm.
And
And if I try to meet it with the
Yeah.
So that's what he's talking about. Yeah. Why are you going straight into this? I'm not gonna. Especially if you do those first two at a time. 1, 2, 1, 2, say how my hands is.
Other side.
And then we'll do the same. Do really good
Yeah, so tuck it across, and then, yeah, and then turn around, and throw it out back in. Yeah.
Right. Nice and slow.
Yeah.
Alright, that's cross. That's parallel. That's going to the op.
And you
So it's you and me. I come in. You're gonna make a leg lock, right here, and then you come at me.
Yeah, right.
Generally, they won't do it, but you either get the kill or they're like,
I did it. Okay, so that was.
He's like, again.
as he comes in,
Yeah.
or across, right? And if I have to, it's here, back up, right? And he comes at me.
Yeah. Threat with it. So.
Yeah.
If he's
It's a
like,
war
right.
thrust. I call it a war thrust, because I'm not really trying to get a kill. I'm just saying, do you really want to come at me?
Yeah. You coming at you, bro?
It helps you be second fight too, because now you take initiative.
100%. Okay, so I'm going to talk one more grip. Two more grips. Let's not grab. Alex just wants to beat the shit out of me. I used to be him.
It's his primary weapon stock.
Oh yeah, awesome. So then come here. With bring your sword, no mouth. I want you to see what So we're getting into like little tiny, and sometimes the 2% move is the one that gets you old man, right? Yeah, right. Exactly. So let's say I'm fighting somebody that's got like a really long sword compared to what I'm using, or a long great sword. How do I use my weapon, my shorter longsword, in a way that gets me more range? Right? Okay. So no. Yeah, no, I want something that's really long. Yeah, is that pretty long? Yeah. That's almost, yeah. So you gotta be my pal. You don't need armor or anything. I'm not gonna be hitting that. So go to your B range, right? Okay. Well, we're gonna talk legs. Just so that so touch my leg. Yeah, go back a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So that's Jamie's full range with that weapon, right?
Yeah.
Right. But if as I swing, I drop this hand. Right? Right? Now all of a sudden, because I've dropped that top hand to my bottom hand, it's kind of like being, you know, giant guy who can swing sort of one hand from the palm. But now my range is there, or give or take, based on the shoulder coming forward. So it's dropped that hand to gain a little bit more range. Okay? So like I said, it's like the 2%. This is like, if I'm like, oh man, I'm not talking about how we're gonna fight someone with longer range. This isn't the conversation. Because obviously you try to smoke a leg from getting out or an arm, right? While you're also controlling the weapon. But if we're just talking range, and his expectation is he has the advantage, right? Then if I understand how to use my weapon for extended range, that's not readily observable by my foe, right?
I feel safe.
Yeah, you feel safe, right? So I come in and I do this, and he thought he was out of range. Because I do that, as opposed to that. Yeah, there's like I said, in the class, I'm really range. You can lean forward, you can do lunges, you can do big steps and all that stuff too, obviously, that, right? But just from a grip change, more range. I don't think we need to practice that, it's kind of obvious. Right? So like, for example, that kind of a sword, Dave, that's got to be really effective to all of a sudden freak your opponent out.
Where's the stage come from?
Well, yeah, because he's going from, what is that, maybe 36, maybe not, blade from the quillins up. But man, when you hold it there, woohoo, that's a big weapon. Right? Okay?
Plus I got long arms. Tall.
Sure, there's all those other, modifiers. And then the other one, and we talked a little bit about this earlier, is the bottom hand coming to the top hand. Okay? Again, this is like the 2% rule, right? If we're in here, right, and I want to, we're punching high, and I drop that hand, it's easier. It's kind of like doing a one-handed cut, right? Like going to a one-handed cut, but with more force. Right? Makes sense? Yeah. So we're not any longer just having our hands on the same place, not doing anything, but having, hammer cuts, things. We're really using our hands to manipulate what now becomes a true art form. Right? Right? Make sense? Right?
Using the whole weapon.
Yeah, you're using the whole weapon and manipulating it to gain your advantages. Yeah. Okay, so those are the grips. What did I want to talk about? We talked about what time? Winning a fight, right? A lot of guys I do this class I'm going to well, how do you use that style to win? That's a legit question. So, the first thing that, here's something all the time, you gotta have good form, you gotta understand how to move, you gotta understand how to, hit a target, be on edge and all those things, obvious, right? You gotta understand your range, so when you do swing, you're actually hitting something. But there's how you control the fight, okay? You guys all understand what I mean when I say control the fight, right? Be the guy who's in charge of the fight, right? The things I want to do in the fight, I'm causing my foe to have to do. He's following me, right? I got a whole list of techniques that fall under how you control a fight, right? And I'll get to some of those a little bit later. But fundamentally, when I'm thinking about how to win a fight with any weapons form against a specific weapons form, and that you can push that down into a specific fighter, foe as well, of course. We go, okay. Today I've said a couple times. I've said that you got to do that formalization. I don't know, have you guys heard me say that? You got formalization might be my term, but it's formalization is taking all the things that are in the formula, putting them together. The end result is a win. Okay, so I'm going to do a thing that I'm going to gain a range. That's A. I'm then going to make an oblique step. That's B. This is the formula, right? I'm going to then feint for that little leg, right?
You got him.
So here, and then I'm going to step here, and I'm going to cut, okay? That's one way to win a fight. Now, if they lock it, they lock it, right? I've gained initiative. I started first. My opponent had to receive or go second, right? Okay. Who here can? So that's in your mind's eye, creating that thing you're doing. Literally, this happens to me all the time. Literally, I go, give me a gym, you're fighting. Okay, what do I think I want to do? Or he's coming at me. Well, before I decided what I was going to do, right? I got to be pretty good at moving and backing up and blocking, right? But if he gives me a minute to think, I might have thought already before I walk out on this, but whatever it is, I go, okay, I'm gonna go right, I'm gonna do a feint, use some footwork, go offline, and do some cutting. See what happens, and then get out. Maybe use a word thrust. Right? That's a picture in my head. It isn't me doing all that text. That's a picture in my head. Literally me going, right? Okay? And that might not have been perfect for what was in my head, but it's pretty close, right? The only way you can do that, be able to do that in your fight, is you've practiced enough doing that on your pellet, right? Sparring and tournaments are places to practice a thing. Tournaments are places to win, to prove that your practice is good, right? Okay? No matter how good you are on the pellet, if that doesn't work in a tournament, then you need to modify things. So, initiative, right? Everybody talks about initiative, right? So everybody knows what initiative is, right? Yeah? So how many forms of initiative are there? Name a form of initiative.
When you say form, can you articulate that?
So if you're in the initiative phase of your conceptualization of doing something in the fight, whatever it is, right? What is one thing to do? And this isn't a tactic. This is basically, and I'll help you out to kind of present what I'm looking for. Taking initiative, straight taking initiative means moving first, going first, attacking first, right? Duh, that's obvious. That's why you're like, it's one. So that's one, going first. What's the second version of a fight at that level of initiative?
Provoking an action.
It's provoking an action. It's going second. That's actually different.
Going second.
That's it, huh?
Intentionally going second.
Intentionally going second. That's the second one. A third one, connected to that second one, is provoking them to do the thing you would like them to do by going second, right? So we were talking earlier about some of those blocks and stuff like that for bat. I gotta wait till he swings. So if I attack, well, then I'm not going to be able to do a rebat very easily, right? So how do I provoke that? Well, first I have to receive, to draw them in. I have to get them to attack me in a way that I've decided is what I'm creating for them, right? Okay? So that's the third form of initiative, right? So I went first. I just waited. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I just waited, right? There's going second with a plan, drawing them in. That's how high school talks about it. Is like when I'm fighting Frederick, and I'm like, okay, I want Frederick to do something. I'm trying to draw them to me to do the thing that I want them to do. Right? So if I go to fool, it's do anything up here. Right? If I go to hubris, if I'm top over here, it's do anything over here. Right? Et cetera, et cetera. Right? There is simultaneous going, right? Okay? So this is Dave and I are getting ready to fight. We'll go like, I'm going first, and I'm like, I'm going first at the same time. You're going simultaneous. That's a form of initiative a formula, right? But you have to train for it. You have to train for all these, right? The first one, go first, that's the easy one, right? And that works a lot. I'm a very go first guy. You go first, if the guy doesn't block correctly, you win or whatever, right? That's the easy fight that at advanced levels, that's the one that generally isn't going to win you the fight when you're fighting a peer or somebody who's as good as you, right? It's the control. So I'm waiting, I'm controlling my opponent to attack me in a way that I want them to, right? Simultaneous that has to be trained too, because if you're not used to, once that initial clash of two striking things are going on, and usually when people go at the same time, have you ever done that thing where you're like, oh, we both attacked the same target, opposite in mirror, and made the block because it was the same attack, and then you back out and laugh. Yeah, right? You know, that's simultaneous, right? But if that would have happened and you stepped around and grabbed the sword and hit him in the head, well, it's because you're practicing doing a thing. You know, you continued when they didn't, right? So simultaneous. So that's 4. 5 is super subtle. 5 gets involved in that reading your opponent's spirit thing I was talking about earlier with the bats and stuff like that, where you're adding another layer of bubble of awareness to the fight for yourself. Right? So how do you win? Well, you got to understand initiative and do the things that you want to do in the fight. Right? You have a formula, some choices you practice, and things that you're doing. Right? You practice if who's the most aggressive forward-moving person here today? Like when you fight, you just want to. Like Kellic, I use Kellic as an example. Kellic is Musashi, tread down his opponent. Okay? And you're like, God, Buddhism's even worse, right? Okay? So if you haven't trained how to fight somebody who has that specific style that they're going to use, it's going to be pretty difficult to beat them, right? If you've trained enough that you're taking advantage of things because they're just doing the thing you know they're going to do. Now all of a sudden, if you're trained well enough doing it, you can at least meet them 50-50. Kellic's pretty hard to do that 50-50, but we do our best. But you have to be practiced at making a block and backing up and cutting and using your feet, right? Because he's using his feet coming forward, right? Okay. So this is how you win. You have to. And then it's the practice and the pedal and the doing and then the no mind or the not. Some guys are really good chess fighters. You know what I mean by chess fighters, right? Mm-hmm. And if he does this, I do this. If he does this, I do that. If I do this, he does that. Actually, I'm a horrible chess fighter. I'm a no mind fighter. I do lots and lots of drilling, lots and lots of training, lots and lots of sparring, and then see what happens, and then that gives me input and feedback to do more and more training and pedal work and all that stuff, right? There's a thing also that comes into play, which I describe as single timing versus double timing. Okay. Now, what I mean by that is, when I grew up in the SCA, everything that I was taught and everything that we all did was double timing attacks, double timing movements, fights. Okay? And that's easily shown by being, sword shield. Yeah, okay, well, I'm not going to attack him, right? I mean, he attacks, I make a block, and then I attack, right? And then he blocks, and then he attacks, right? So it's block, attack, block, attack, block, attack, block, attack. Right? It's always in that two timing. It's always the attack is always a double time. There's an attack block or a block attack. That's double timing. Right? That's not doing something at the same time as your opponent is doing a thing with his sword, with their sword. Single timing is doing something while they're doing something with their weapon. This is specific to weapons, attacks and all that. Okay? So if for example, you ever have somebody I was a caddy and I was like, okay, all right, well, if I'm fighting a really good left-handed guy and I'm tired, I'm probably gonna try to snipe that arm, right? But his defense is super good. I can't just hit it, because I'm just gonna get tired, you know, from basically he's just gonna make a simple block or whatever, right? But if I time, and as he's throwing a cut at me, I'm trying to hit his arm at the same time, okay? That's signal timing, okay? And that's more powerful than double timing. It's also much more difficult to do correctly and adequately because you have to be in sync with that time, right? Okay. Some guys are naturally good at it. Some guys are very, very few people, but some guys are just naturally good. I never was. Better now than ever. Practice more single time, less double time in your fight, okay? With long swords, it's a little difficult to do that because with long swords, you can. But with a long sword, because it's just one thing, right? With sword and shield, it's easier because I always have a block just in case I need it, right? But if my opponent is cutting at me here, right? Okay, and we did a little bit of this with some of the bats and things, but if I meet the attack, so he's cutting, I'm moving, and then at the same time swinging. That's a single time attack where I made the block and then the finish of the cut just after, right? Okay. Not quite block the shield while you're swinging. Right? Or flanking the sword swinging. Okay? So it's a little more difficult with long swords. And you come in here, block it as it's coming at you, and then thrust. Right? Single time attack. Okay? So think about your style and what you're doing and how you can add, with any weapon swing, but how you can add more of those simultaneous single time movements. Okay? The thing about the single time also is that, like, I have a thing that I do that it's called a stop attack. Right? So sword and shield, right? And I go, right? Kind of looks like a leg shot, right? And then finish in the head, right? Shoulder drop, whatever you call it, right? Okay, Kelly shoulder drop. Yeah, and you know he's going to do it when he still hits you, right? One of the ways that he still hits you when you're expecting it is doubt and fear, right? You're like, oh, he's going to do that thing to me, right? But another one of the ways he does it is it's a single time. He waits till you swing at him. So you're in guard, and as you're swinging at him, he's blocking and doing that, right? So you're swinging at Kelly. Your head is on the swing, the attack. His is on two things, the block and the strike at the same time. So because it's at the same time, he catches your defense in limbo. And so it's easier to control your spirit, and therefore you go, as you're like, I'm gonna get him, oh, he liked it. And he does that drop, shoulder drop, and your shield, your spirit just can't help go, I see it coming, go like that, go like that. Right? Yeah. So if you wanna try to have a little more success with him doing that, swing at the same time he's swinging. Right? And the other thing is always lift to cover the mortal parts. And if it ended up being a leg, it's just a leg. Yeah.
I'm a big guy, I don't want to get on my knees that often.
Yeah. Okay, so I've talked quite a bit about how to identify, some in-depth, some pretty detailed conversations that normally will come up in a class because they're kind of in-depth and whatnot. I've only touched on them to kind of give you guys a lot of feedback and input and information to start seeking out more of the depth and breadth of those things, right? Some of you are like, yeah, I understand that, I understand that. Some of you are like, wow, which one do I choose, man? I can't choose all 5 at the same time or 10 at the same time, So are there any questions about anything I just talked about?
Could we practice some of those single time
Yeah.
strikes?
Yeah.
I just want to definitely make sure you get that. Some of that. He was going. I think that period. And I have to
These guys over here are all practicing the illegal stuff. Doing what? The illegal stuff. You want to buy the oatmeal cookie from Cavern?
Say while you're doing it.
Yeah.
On your shoulder.
I got to some cleaner.
So, should I start putting gear? It's like 2:45. Yeah, okay. 14 to 10.
Yeah, so the first thing we're going to do is the abandoned attack. Yeah, so remember we talked about committed attack, committed defense, right? You actually have to show to your opponent that it looks like you're actually finishing the thing that it started looking like, right?
Did you aim this with the back edge or which one was this?
No, now it just rotates around
Now
here and then. Yeah, it's just an abandoned attack. Well, if you know where the concept is, you over here is over that block. And then you can also use that snap more straight line.
That's what I was getting. That's
Yeah,
you're really.
yeah, yeah.
Here, and that gives you a lot of leverage.
Try it the other way.
Just seeing that way first.
Step it this way. Yeah.
Big one!
Back quarter.
So you
Yeah.
can get it. So you
Now we're
yeah. So when you do the abandoned attack,
trying to quarter step with that speed.
think of it as literally if we're fighting. If I'm here, I can get this. And then get but I gotta be here, right? So you're like, you want positive, but you have to block. And then the last minute you change.
Yeah, okay.
No, this is not a do a thing and if they don't make the block. That's yes, because you can't have stuff in your head 5% of just it's one move that just incorporates a number of things in the field. Like it's put the quarter and do the thing. In time, if you practice these kind of things, you'll develop it for the little nuance to yourself. And we'll work against somebody that other players doing, you know, it's second, right? But yeah, commit, then abandon. You literally like don't guard to me. So I do this to the end. So I literally went away until if he doesn't connect it to me, so that might be a change. That's correct.
Doesn't be good.
It's not a lot. And it's, I have to do both. Stay in your range.
You're already in your range.
That's good. That's good.
That's because I was looking right at you.
I'm watching yours.
You did that. Yeah. And it's unwinding it.
I think.
You're here. You're here, and then
Your first out, your first fake action.
so what you, that's correct. What you did is a fine move. You're not making me freak out about that because you're swinging at me when you do that. Literally, if you do that to me, right, you can't do that. Right? I'm either going to back up or I'm going to be like, well, if you finished, you still wouldn't hit me. Oh, yes, that's right.
There.
Stand, do it right now. Right. Reach out, touch it. Yeah, now, go to guard, whatever one you want. Yeah, now. Yeah, so now you're here. Now, that's the abandon, right there. Right? And step right up the wheel. And then,
This is kind of fun.
not this one. This is the true edge cut. Here.
Which is why you have to step on the foot because otherwise you are twisted up.
Well, you don't have to. You don't have to. I can do that. Right? Using my
Those are what I
body.
use. I use pen to get things carried.
An angle of opportunity.
Yeah.
You're going to bounce off.
And he was saying earlier, do the opposite. When you're sort of shield, let's see if it's like you're showing shield. You expect the swing to come here. So let's try. Start there. Because they're freaked out.
Right.
So it's just a standard.
Yeah, so that's the other side.
The other side, which is sometimes.
Stronger. It can be stronger. So we're here, right?
Yeah, right.
And I do this. And you're having this in it. Like, here it comes. Yeah. So if I do this, you're like, oh shit. You go there, see how it's nice with right? And you can expect it. That's correct. Okay.
That guy's really dead. That was a melee shot. That guy should have took it.